Hey everybody, it's Leslie Tagorda, your brand astrologer and designer here today. Oh my goodness, we just completed our Thanksgiving holidays in the United States, and I hope you've done some exploration in terms of finding the truth for you with this holiday that is based in so many untruths, and finding out, giving thanks to the land in which you currently reside. Today, I would love to share a special interview. You know, you go through life, right? And every once in a while, you just meet that one person in a crowd that you need to know. And oh my gosh, Asha Frost is this person to me. We met back in October of 2019, and we'll share our story there. But I knew that as soon as I saw her, that she is somebody that I needed to know, and our friendship and our co-creation process has just really expanded ever since then. I think part of the reason why I was so drawn to her was just not her like beautiful energy and presence, but when we were, sharing our astrology, we both have Sun Jupiter conjunctions in the ninth house. Like, oh my gosh, like almost to like the same exact spot in our chart. Things point to it. I'm like, oh my goodness. And so, she calls herself a visionary, and I also call myself a visionary. Both came to those roles in different ways. But oh my gosh, I just love Asha and can't wait to share this interview with her. I hope you love her as much as I do. She is an indigenous medicine woman and holds so much sacred knowledge. Aloha! Welcome to the Savvy Luminary, an astrology podcast for entrepreneurs. I'm your host, Leslie Tagorda, an Aquarius boss woman, a brand designer, and business astrologer. I help visionaries, spiritual entrepreneurs, and impact makers just like you reach your highest potential and become the luminaries you are star-charted to be. All right. So today, of course, I'm going to be sharing that wonderful interview with Asha Frost. And before that, we are going to be talking about the astrology of this last week of November and first week of December. Going back to the interview with Asha, oh my gosh, I am so excited to share with you because she has an amazing story in just terms of like how she really started rooting into her own identity and showing up and sharing her wisdom despite getting a lot of pushback from people in her community and outside of her community. She really taught me to see that, yeah, I feel like this is in me, but she put the beautiful words to it in terms of like, we teach what we need to learn. And that really has stuck with me, and just her beautiful way of doing things. As a Gemini sun, Capricorn moon, and a beautiful, peaceful warrior Libra rising, she is here to spread kindness and see all of the best possibilities in each and every one of us as we tap into the medicine that already lives within us. So before we dive into this episode, let us center our energies around the mantra of I teach and share what I need to learn. So let's that soak in. Take a beautiful clearing breath. Plant your feet firmly on the ground. Feel your connection to Mother Earth and the divine. Take another deep breath and repeat after me. I teach and share what I need to learn. Okie dokie. So before we get into our wonderful interview, I wanted to share the astrology of the week because, oh my goodness, we have a full moon coming up, and not an ordinary full moon, but a full moon eclipse in Gemini on Monday, November 30th at 1:30 a.m. Pacific and 4:30 a.m. Eastern. the sun and the moon will be directly opposite each other, with the sun in Sagittarius at 8 degrees and the moon in Gemini at 8 degrees. While this is an eclipse, it's not a total eclipse. The North Node is about 11 degrees away from the moon at this time. But if you've been following me for a while, you know that full moons are the climax of the cycle. It's a time where the needs of our moon, our emotional self, are fully illuminated and requiring integration from the needs of our vitality and creative self, represented by the sun. The full moon is a time of celebrating and letting go. It's right before the time, if we think about Mother Nature and the growth process, it's right before the time that a plant would bear fruit. So we think about if you were growing an orchard or had a tree that was bearing fruit, you would actually go and prune your tree so that the fruit that would appear would be sweeter, would be more healthier, would be more vibrant. And so similar thinking when we're looking at our business and integrating our Sagittarius sun, right? Our this is the season and the time to dream big, to expand our horizons. And then the needs of our moon in Gemini, which is, thinking about the shadow side of the moon that the sun is now illuminating. Gemini is about the overwhelm, the overthinking. And then, of course, in this age of overload of information, right? Oh my gosh, all of the fake news that we have to decipher to figure out what's real. I mean, I even think that I'm pretty good with figuring out what's fake news, but I've caught myself sometimes going down those rabbit holes. So I'm sure all of us have the chance for this full moon to really understand what is true to us, like just, on a philosophical level, and what is based on fact, right? What are the truths that are true to us? So if you're going to be doing a full moon ritual for your business, the key to a full moon ritual about letting go and releasing is also about giving thanks and celebrating, acknowledging all of the gifts that we have received, whether or not we can really see them as gifts, whether or not we have challenges in our lives that right now feel so hard, right? But they're really here to teach us. So what is the gratitude that we can find in those challenges? And then in terms of releasing, we are here to let go of all of those blocks of overwhelm, of misinformation, of overthinking that the Gemini energy holds. So with this full moon eclipse, today I let go of overwhelm that blocks me from sharing my thoughts and vision. Because as we're going to learn from the visionary Asha, is that we have to teach, right? If we are here to learn our big vision and to learn our big truths, we are then required to share and teach those truths. Because this full moon is going to be happening on the Sagittarius Gemini axes, kind of our axis of knowledge and information, at 8 degrees of Sagittarius and 8 degrees of Gemini, take a look at your chart to see if you have any energies called in around 8 degrees of Sagittarius, Gemini, or the other mutable signs of Virgo and Pisces. And of course, give yourself, some room. So 8 degrees plus or minus 5. So we're looking for any energies in the mutable signs between 3 degrees and 13 degrees. Mutable signs, again, Gemini, Sagittarius, and Pisces, Virgo. If you have any planetary energies around those degrees, those energies want a say in your full moon ritual and will give you an understanding of the things that you need to celebrate, as well as the things that you need to let go so that your business and your life can even bear more luscious fruit. So for me, for example, I have my moon and Neptune in Sagittarius, as well as my Mercury in Pisces. I'm going to be looking at my full moon in terms of a celebration. I have so much to be thankful for in this year because so many of my dreams have come true because I really pushed forward on my dreams, taking risks and doing the really hard things that I knew was going to push me and grow my business forward. I have so much to be thankful for. And of course, getting through all of that negative self-talk, I really want to kind of assess how I can move through that more quickly so that it doesn't block me from even bigger success. Part of the success that I'll be celebrating for this Gemini full moon is the release of my 2 books, New Moon Rituals for Entrepreneurs and Star Powered Brand. Oh my gosh, I am so freaking excited to have these books available for pre-order. They will be shipping out in the second week of December, so you'll get them in time for the holidays, and they will be available via Amazon or Barnes & Noble the week of December 15th. If you would like to get your hands on these books for yourself or for your business besties or, great client gifts, head over to thesavvyluminary.com/2021. And then 2021 is 2021. New Moon Rituals for Entrepreneurs goes through each of the new moons of 2021 and gives you tips on how to customize new moon rituals. When you do all 12 new moon rituals for 2021, you're going to be able to redesign every aspect of your business using the power of the moon. And in Star Powered Brand, I focus on your 3 core energies that you need to fine tune so that you can resonate your brilliance, your sun sign, your moon sign, and your rising sign. I give you practical and empowering tips to look at those core energies and how you can bring them forth in your business to be seen as the luminous leader you are born to be. Back to astrology. On Tuesday, December 1st, Mercury moves into Sagittarius. Oh my gosh, more Sagittarius energy. I talked all about Sagittarius last week, and I love Sagittarius energy because it's so much part of my design. But when Mercury is in Sagittarius, it is communicating using inspiration. It is communicating through big ideas, right? So for you in your business, as Mercury is in Sagittarius, can you think of all the way that your brand messaging and marketing can be cast out even further, right? We're not just talking about social media and to your likes, but how can you even go further? Is there something that you can publish, even if it's on a site like medium.com or other blogging sites that have an even wider net? Or maybe you publish an article on LinkedIn. Thinking about Sagittarius energy it's expanding outside of your social media circles, right? Social media is more based in Gemini. Those are the people that like you and other like-minded people. But Sagittarius is about getting to a wider global audience. So think about your business and your brand and think about how you can use Mercury and Sagittarius energy to cast your message and dreams out even further. Then on Saturday, December 5th, we have a beautiful trine, a harmonious flow between the most benevolent energies in our solar system, Venus and Neptune. Venus is in Capricorn, so this is all about valuing and connecting over projects, over building things together. And Neptune, of course, can be seen as a higher frequency of Venus, the connection, but now the connection to all and the connection to divine. So look at your partnerships and where you're building things together and see how Spirit wants to support you with all that you are building. Gratefully, we have a pretty quiet week besides that full moon. But it's just really great that we have this full moon energy to really let go and release because we are still building towards the most important conjunction of the incredible 2020. And of course, that is the Jupiter and Saturn conjunction coming up on December 21st. right? That conjunction is so important for us individually and us in our communities and us as a society at large, because this is starting a new cycle in Aquarius, future forward, innovative, social justice for all. Right? This is for you if you've been putting the work in by showing up consistently and by being really responsible to yourself and society at large, that you will more than likely find the fruits of your labors. Something will spectacular happen. The Saturn-Jupiter conjunction that's coming up, and I'll be talking way more about this coming up, it's not this thing, like this really wonderful thing that all these good things are going to happen for everybody. What's going to happen is that you're going to be shown the expansive light and the possibilities only if you've been putting in that work. So if you haven't been putting that work about showing up, what is blocking you from doing that? So please get really clear with that with this full moon in Gemini, because you'll be able to let go of some of those overthinking tendencies of yours. And if you have been putting in the work, use that Sagittarius energy to be really, really grateful. Illuminate all the ways that your message has been rippling out forward. All right, and so now here we have our interview with the beautiful Asha Frost. I hope you enjoy it as much as I did. Okay, Luminaries, I am so excited to have here Asha Frost, Indigenous medicine woman. It's been a little more than a year since we've met, but it just really feels like this just deepest remembrance. When I first saw Asha, I was like drawn to her spirit. I was like, I need to know you. So welcome, Asha. How are you today?
Thank you for having me. And I felt the exact same way. I remember that moment is like imprinted in my heart and my vision forever.
Yes. Do you want to share with us the exciting, like how we met and the wonderful opportunity that has presented you?
Sure. So we met through the Diverse Wisdom Scholarship, which with Hay House, we were both going to write a book. We wrote a book proposal.
Yes.
And I received one of the deals. So I have a book coming out with Hay House in 2022 called You Are the Medicine. So I'm so excited about that.
Oh my gosh. Do you know when in 2022 it's coming out?
It's scheduled for March.
March. Oh my gosh. When you think about it, it's like, it feels 2022, that feels a long time from now, right? Then the actual process of writing the book and going through everything, these things don't kind of happen overnight but so Asha, I think she's being a little bit humble. She received this beautiful opportunity to be published by the Epic Hay House publishers, and You Are the Medicine. I can't wait to listen or to read it, rather.
Thank you. Yeah, I'm excited. I'm just at the beginning process of really writing the book, so I'm really hoping this next season is going to propel me, because I feel this new energy coming in and how I'm going to start writing it.
Yeah, I know I wanted to ask you a little bit about kind of like this idea of rooting and rising, because I think both of us had this kind of like pendulum of a year, right? Where we get these like successes, but there's all these other things that I'm like, don't allow us to really soar or to really enjoy the successes. I guess more specifically, my question is like, as you've built your name and as you've built your visibility and shown brighter in your life and your business, like how has that like been balanced with you? How do you hold space for all of those ups and downs?
That's such a great question. I think I've really realized and claimed this year that my medicine is, I've been in business for 17 years, and sometimes I look out there and I think, oh my goodness, that person rose to like visibility status really fast. And sometimes I can look at my own path and think, oh, it feels kind of turtle-like. It's been like one step at a time, one little seed planted. But what I realized this year is it's been rooted. Like there's been roots, and the roots are getting thicker and it's getting deeper and wider. So I'm here for the depth and the width and the longevity. And I feel like moving through some of the like painful parts of this year has added to that depth and that width, even though it's been challenging. The lessons and the wisdom that have been cultivated from that time are just like they've been so timely, and they've added to the medicine of what I carry. So I've always trusted that, but this year really showed that to me in a whole new way. So yeah, I guess I just trust that those ebbs and flows, those cycles and seasons that we all go through. And I think that all of us do. It's just we don't always see that in the social media world, or, we don't always share that either. So I'm here for sharing it because I think it's important so that people don't feel alone.
Yeah, because the success, it's like, right, to reflect back, it's like, it's not overnight, right? Like the turtle pace of 17 years. And I feel the same way because I started my business around the same time you've started your business. And only in the last few years have I really decided that I wanted to be visible, to share more of the knowledge and just all of the ups and the downs. So, I shared my book story a little bit with the listeners here of not getting one of the contracts and being totally okay with it. Like, like there's the initial hurt, right? Like of not being selected, but saying like, oh, okay, well, that's not quite the path. Like, how am I going to do this? Like, I felt it in my bones that like, I couldn't wait for this book to come out. Right. And so stopped listening to experts, just trusted my intuition and still did it. And so, last week when I was getting all like the book covers and everything, like there are things in my personal life that just kept on like crumbling and crumbling. And it's just like, it feels like every time there's this like kind of burst of light and success, it's always tempered with something that's going to like hold you, like anchor you to like, well, you still live on planet Earth here.
Yeah, that's so true. That humanity, I think, like, I just think that is, it's balance. It's balance in life. And we do go through those times. I'm trying to build my capacity for a success to be, for that joy and that ease and that grace and that flow, because I think ancestrally that's not always been the case. So I've carried a lot of that, like that way of moving in the world from my ancestors. So I've been doing a lot of work this year around how can I make more capacity for this to be flowing and easeful and graceful and not so like tempered with those like big hits from the universe going, oh, you got something good happening. Here's the balance of that. So I do think it's starting to unweave, but it takes a lot of work. Like I do a lot of self-work every single day. And I'm committed to it and I love it. So, but yeah, it's like lifetimes and unweaving those old patterns.
Oh my goodness. I would love to take a step back because I realize I just jumped into this conversation on the deep end because I'm like, oh, everybody knows Asha, just like how I know you. But I didn't give you a formal enough of an introduction. Would you please share with us kind of that path of yours, like the ancestral path and the work that you do?
Sure. So I am Anishinaabe. Both my parents are Ojibwe, and I grew up, my mother is my elder. She's my greatest elder. And she always held these teachings in our home. She held these teachings in our space. And she always informed me with this. So she really did that work. And it was really beautiful. But I didn't grow up feeling like, being Indigenous was something to be proud of because there was a lot of racism in the town I lived in. I didn't also grow up on the reserve. So I just kind of grew up like, okay, I kind of want to fit in. I'm going to assimilate to this culture that's around me that seems to be safer. Until I got sick. When I got sick with lupus, I was diagnosed when I was 17, and then that just cracked something open. It was like I heard like the teachings of my ancestors, and I saw that the earth could heal me, and I went through bouts of being really ill and knowing that I had to heal my spirit. So part of healing my spirit was to go back to those old medicine ways, right? That I knew that were in my blood and bone memory. And it's been a journey ever since. So at the time then when I got sick, I started investigating natural therapies, and I found that homeopathy really helped me. It helped to heal my body, but also my spirit and my emotions. And that really was like, I want to do this. So it was like I went to school to become a homeopath. And then everything unfolded from there. I just started like practicing with people, using my intuition. And then I started taking different trainings from different elders and guides. And then started to move all of that healing work into my private practice. So it was one-on-one practice for probably 15 years. I had a private practice in the community and built a lot of great relationships that way. just really nurturing those and doing tons of healing circles and just sitting in ceremony with people in person. I loved that. It was really, building those relationships were really important to me. So that was, it's just honestly that people say, how did you choose to do these things? And it was my life situation or the challenges in my life opened me up to these paths. And then I just kind of got led there, and it just kept evolving. And I trust that, that can be the way for most of us too, if we just kind of listen and sit with that and trust that spirit's guiding us.
Oh my goodness. Yes. So I have some questions about in terms when you're learning from your mother, right? Kind of more traditional healing things. And how was that really coming through and being more open and public with that, especially like growing up where you did? How did that change? How did that kind of evolve for you?
That was just a lot. I mean, it's still work that I do today, right? Because it's being an Indigenous person. Still in Canada, there's so much racism here for Indigenous people. So it's still something that I work on today of just like reclaiming this and remembering and rooting down and just really saying like, I'm proud Anishinaabe woman here, and I'm really like claiming this. So I think that's been like a huge part of my healing process, and just like feeling like that ancestral guidance is just trusting that I'm moving through that and becoming part of that and sharing that with the world. It's been such a journey because it's not always the most popular path to do it this way. And just walking that in this way sometimes it's been a bit of a challenge. It's not been easy.
So I was curious, you mentioned earlier that you are doing kind of self-work every day. Would you share what that looks like?
Yeah, so a lot of that work is connected to sort of that identity piece, right? And just like also boundaries and protection. I think being more visible too in the world, it's like you get a lot of feedback from what you put in the world. And I think because sometimes I've gotten criticism or the way I share my teachings isn't always accepted by Indigenous folks. So I've received comments that have been really hurtful. So I've had to build up doing some healing around that, being this bridge that I am, because I see myself as having this purpose of bridging sort of those traditional ways with the new ways, walking this path of serving, Indigenous folks, non-Indigenous folks, all folks, like just that really are attracted to my vibration and how I'm showing up in the world. But that takes a lot of the capacity building, right? And a lot of protection and boundaries of like when something comes my way that feels sort of like it's from that community that I am a part of. How do I deal with that? How do I walk in a way that's in my integrity, that's trusting that this is how my ancestors are guiding me, and still walking forward and not getting shut down. So I'd say that's been the biggest teaching this year of just walking that path and doing it with grace and also doing it with a lot of self-trust.
So tapping into kind of that self-trust. Asha's her chart. She is a Libra rising, and it's such a beautiful chart. And I love just hearing like how you are living that, how you are showing up as the bridge builder. Libra is the scales and it's the peacekeeper, right? And it loves to connect, and how you lead with creating relationships and building those bridges. It pains me to hear that, that anybody would criticize the way that you do things, because your heart is so kind, you're filled with so much kindness. And so when we're putting, like as all of us are building our brands to be more visible so that we can serve more people, it's like, yeah, like everybody, it's like the more visible you are, the more of kind of just like not necessarily a target, but like more open to criticism. So how do you, besides like trusting in your ancestors, is there like something that you do to protect yourself, or to kind of transmute those tinges of pain that we all get?
Yeah, I do a lot of ritual and practices, right? I'm smudging every day. I'm doing some ancestral protection, calling on my animal spirits. All of those things help me from like a practice standpoint. But when the pain comes in, it's just like that's something you're not always ready for. You go on your Instagram, you open it up, and there it is, right? So you're not always prepared. So doing some nervous system practices right now is really helpful for me. And that is like just some shaking. I like to do a lot of shaking. And these are practices that I'm learning right now from Dr. Valerie Rain and her partner. I'm in their program right now, and it's really helped me because what I realized is I think my nervous system was over capacity, especially during this time, right? We're in the pandemic, my children were home, I'm trying to run a full-time business. My nervous system was inundated and I didn't have any room for myself. So doing some nervous system work, just even breathing, has helped me so much, but just doing it consistently has been so helpful. And then also that inner work of thinking, of just like coming back to, okay, this might be other people's opinions. What is my truest nature? What is my path? I found myself, because sometimes I can be like easily sort of called out of my own energy. I found myself like, maybe I should be like that. Oh, I'm not enough like this. I need to be like that person. And that really happened at the beginning of this year. It was a huge transformative process to say, no, my nature is this peaceful warrior, which you've told me. And I'm going to stand in this. But it took me like, I'd say, Leslie, honestly, probably almost the whole year to get here, of just doubting myself and wondering, but then being like, this is how my nature calls me. And as you said, well, your chart says this. So it's like, just like incorporating that knowing, which your work has helped me with so much, because in my times of doubt, I'll go back to that. And that's what it says, that's who I am. So yeah.
I think one of the stories that I really vividly remember us sharing together was this idea of kindness and leading from kindness, when you decided when you were, I think, a teenager, right, about being kind. Would you mind sharing that story?
Well, maybe it was, I'm not sure. It might be when I was in grade 4, I got an award.
Yes.
I got an award in grade 4. It was for kindness, and I got to wear a crown, and we got like this chicken and French fries for lunch as a reward. So sweet. And I remember that that was something I think that just was always in my system. And I do think, like, as an Indigenous person, I always get this image of me standing on the edges of like the Georgian Bay, which is where my First Nations are. And I have this open heart. And then these people are coming, maybe colonizers are coming to the shores. And I still have this open heart, not making any judgment, not saying this is what they're going to take from me. Just like, here you are, let's make a relationship together. And I think that is like a true Indigenous heart, is open and kind. I feel that, I guess, as truth in my own bones. So I think I'm actually living our ancestral way through my kindness. That's what it feels like.
That feels so right for you. It just feels like as you are, you're facing all these things, people are telling you you can do that or you can't do that, or they're like you or they don't like you. And it's like, it doesn't even matter, right? As you're like, I know I'm supposed to live in this way with an open heart, with a kindness, take whatever you have and come at me, but that's not going to change the brightness of my heart. Right?
Yeah. That's exactly what it is. And the more that I've claimed my innate nature, I think, and just saying like, because, I know, because I serve so many folks with this question, like, I don't feel enough as this, so maybe I should be this, it's like that wholeness, like I'm just a little bit of this and a little bit of this and I'm not enough. And I just think the more we can root into our wholeness, and this is what Creator visioned for us, literally, like, I visioned you to be the soul on this planet at this time, to manifest and create in this way. Like, who are we to argue with that? Like, I really feel that now. And I've always seen that for other people, but we teach what we need to learn.
That's so beautiful. Can you tell me more about the vision? Because I know we've spent a lot of time talking about vision. We are currently in Sagittarius season, about creating the vision for ourselves, right? If we don't create the vision for ourselves, then we can't go after our dreams. Right? And you have this innate gift where you literally see visions for people and receive them. Could you tell us more about that?
Yeah, well, that started when I was like really small. I remember at nighttime I would have visions, and I believe now they were my ancestors, but they would scare me. They'd frighten me because it was in the dark and they'd be these dark figures. And sometimes they'd drum or chant and I didn't know what was going on. So I'd turn my light on quick and then they would disappear. And then I was such a dreamer. I would dream all of these things as a child and I remembered them vividly. So my mother, you know, apparently when I was born, she brought me to my grandfather and they both said, oh, she's a seer. So that visionary seer medicine was always inside of me. And that just started to evolve as I grew older. But then, of course, and then when I got sick, it turned into medicine, right? Because when I was a teenager and I just had no idea what was going on. I was like, everybody, that happens to everybody. So then in my work, it was like somebody would sit before me and I would see their animal spirits and I would see their ancestors and they'd be coming for a homeopathic appointment and a remedy, but all of their spiritual peeps and their support would show up. So I felt like I need to start sharing this in some way. I can't just like contain this. So I'd ask for their permission and I'd share the visions I was having. It started to move though into like being a visionary for that person's medicine and just sitting in front of them and seeing that vision that creator had for them or great mystery or spirit that had for them. They'd sit in front of me and then I'd be like, oh, this is what I see, you know? And then like, how can we like evoke that in you or spark that in you so that you can match that or so that you can feel it within yourself too.
Oh my gosh.
That is my way. It's like an invitation, right? It's not like you need to be this. It's an invitation for you to see what I see. So that's how the visionary medicine comes out. And I so believe in like seeing, you know, that seeing aspect of like your dreams and like what would really light you up for your next year, you know, and being in that space is my favorite space to be in.
So how do you help people with this now? Like, how do you teach that visionary medicine? In what avenues do you serve people now?
So I would say that it's really unlocking their own vision. And something that's fascinating is I've done like hundreds of circles and served thousands of people in circles. It's very rare that somebody says to me, I can't see something. Like if I do a journey and I help to set the space, open the space and help them with a journey, most people have seen something or they get into their visionary medicine. And maybe it's those that I attract are visionaries, who knows? Mm-hmm. But it tends to be folks who are open to receiving that. So it's almost like practice. Like now I hold space so that people can practice that connection and get their own answers. Because when people would lie on my healing table, I could tell them what I saw, which was one thing. But when they saw something and it made sense to them and their soul, it like lit up this like understanding that like it was almost like the puzzle pieces came together right in front of my eyes. And that was even more powerful.
Oh my goodness. I just got chills because I feel like the work that you do and the work that I do, it meets at that place, right? For people to be able to see in themselves what we already see in them, right? Because like one can't actually do the real healing or the real change or the real transformation or the real success if they don't actually see what and recognize what success means for them.
Yes. And that's why I love your work, because it really like helps to narrow that down. I feel like really make it really specific. And then it's like, where am I channeling my energy? Well, this is really specific. You know, Leslie has made this framework and there's this vision, and then I can just like really work instead of like trying to like channel my energy in all of these different directions. Mm-hmm. I feel like your work has really made it like rooted for me. Well, there's my direction. There's my path. Here I go.
Your Sun and your Jupiter conjunct in Gemini in the 9th house, right? It's just like almost in a way, like there are certain things for you that need to be grounded, right? Because we live in this earthly space, but your energy is so wide. Your energy is so brilliant. I wouldn't be so concerned about like rooting it because you're already doing it, because like your vision is like, that's what has to shine forward. And that's what needs to be shared. So I'm curious, like in 2021, you know, we're looking at 2021, like how do you want to share more of your vision? Because you have like just this beautiful, spectacular community, and like what's coming up for you?
So I have a very specific vision. So I'm creating an oracle deck that I just feel like the cards are already alive. And I feel like that is going to be like this global energy that when somebody has a card and they choose a card in their hand, it's going to like activate something within them that will just like create ripples for the world. I just feel that's what I really see. It's gotten really clear that these cards will just like amplify that huge vision. My book too, but not the same way. These cards just feel a little bit more alive in that visionary aspect, I think.
Yeah.
That's one of the things. And then I love creating community and I love holding sacred space. So my membership is that place where, folks are invited in, and it's really like, I have an offering, and then how does it land for you? Like, what does that activate for you, right? I know that we're inundated with information right now, and it's like, how can I learn this? And how can I learn this? And how can I take this in? And this space, my spaces are always about integration, finding out your own wisdom in medicine, and just allowing yourself space to be in that. And that self-discovery is so important for the space that I hold, because I could tell you what I see again, but I just think it's so powerful when you ignite it within yourself and walk it in the world.
Your ceremonies are so beautiful, Asha. Just how you lead them, how you begin them, how you bring people on this journey, and everything that you're open to receive, like as working with you. Like even when I catch your ceremonies on replays or if I catch them live, I'm just like astounded by like the brilliance and the energy that comes through. Like you are a force.
Thank you. I mean, it's not just me, right? It's like, I'm just that channel, and I'm always so amazed I always feel so amazed when somebody says, I was there already before you took me there, right? Because it shows the power of the medicine of all the folks in circle who are seers, and they're already receiving the information. So that field that we create together is the most, like, it gives me the most joy.
Oh my goodness. Will you please tell us more about your membership and all the things?
Sure. So the membership has, of course, the healing circle. And I want the monthly healing circle. It's full moon, new moon, or shift in like seasons. And that is like the monthly, everybody loves to gather together. It really is to me, it's like this little sacred light on the internet, like this place where everybody's so supportive, and so everybody's seeing each other and honoring each other's medicine. Your medicine is in there. There's beautiful astrological forecasts for the month, which everybody just adores. So I love that. We have I call it a medicine person interview, where somebody coming in and sharing their gifts and their teachings, which is amazing. And then there's mentorship. So I show up live with card readings and with mentorship for, I attract a variety of folks, but there are healers or people who are wanting to kind of root into their creative force or really see what their own spark is. And it's all through Indigenous medicine teachings, because I'm Indigenous and I'm the one holding the space. So that's how it kind of rolls out. But it's just, to me, it's like everyone who's there also adds so much to that space, because it feels, again, like this little spark of delight on the internet.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. So first of all, thank you, Asha, for inviting me to to offer star medicine in your beautiful community, because it is this bright spot online. Like everybody who is in sacred is so kind, and it's so varied. It feels so inclusive and so loving, and the guests that you bring in, span the spectrum of all of these different human healing modalities. It's such an honor to be part of that community that you've created from your open, kind heart.
Thank you. And the guests too, like, it's really important in my community that we discuss issues that are up right now, right? So I've got all diversity of guests, and we speak about topics like appropriation, or topics like, about diversity and inclusion and white supremacy. Like there's some topics in there that we talk about, because that is really important. And in my space, that we actually are doing, having these conversations and speaking about these things that are really important in our spiritual communities, I think, at this time.
Yeah. If I may ask, we'll come back to sacred, but is it okay if we talk about appropriation for a little bit?
Yes.
It's okay. So I would love to ask you about cultural appropriation and kind of how you've witnessed it, how things have changed for you, and how you've been part of speaking up for cultural appropriation.
So my experience with that was a very like embodied experience. Just um, I feel like it shifted. I love how you say how it shifted because I feel like there's way more acknowledgement of this right now. It seems like it, at least, than
Mm-hmm.
there was, 10 years ago. But I would see different things, feel different things, and it would just be like a very visceral feeling, like something is being taken or stripped from my body, or I feel oppression, like I couldn't breathe. It would be something that I just feel like it was harm that was happening in my physical body or emotional body. And I was like, what is this about? It took me a number of years to really feel like that's what it was, because and it wasn't everybody. It was just certain people, I think. So what I came to see was people in my communities, they have a relationship with me. They are honoring me, they're respecting me. It's reciprocal. They are learning about the history. They are becoming allies. So like this wasn't happening in my communities. It was sort of like the outer kind of Instagram things or whatever
Mm-hmm.
that was happening. So I needed to speak it. I needed to speak it so that I sort of felt this boundary, like this boundary was out in the universe that said, this is not okay. This causes harm. How can we do better? How can we lean back and listen? How can we do this with compassion? So my voice around appropriation has always been, how can we do this compassionately? Because otherwise we're going to shut down in defense. And it's more just being mindful, and then also just knowing the history of who you're taking this from, the the situations that are happening for Indigenous folks across your country, I think is so important. I hear people say, what do you mean they don't have clean water to drink? Or what do you mean this is still happening? All of this is still happening. So if you're taking your sage bundle and your dream catcher and you're using it just for like, I don't know, your Instagram picture to look cool or whatever, then it's just, and you're not caring about the people you're taking it from, that's an issue. But the majority of people I'm serving don't do that. So I think I just needed to draw this sort of boundary of like, this is how we create healing together. And this is how we can move in right relationship with each other. Because to me, it's about repair, leaving space for relationship. I believe all of that's possible because I'm a healer. I've got that vision of healing for us. And you don't know until you know. That's something that I'm so mindful of. Like, I'm learning and messing up every day. So when I
Yes.
learn, then I think, oh, I want that grace given to me if I make a mistake. So how can I offer that to somebody who doesn't know yet?
Yes. So would you say, like, for those of us are curious, like, are we appropriating when we are burning sage or when we are using other people's medicine? What are some questions we could ask ourselves?
Yeah, so I would ask, I mean, first of all, where you're buying your sage from. Is
Mm.
it resourced? There's lots of Indigenous folks that grow their own sage. So finding that source would be really amazing. The sad thing about sage, people say, well, it's not really like, at risk for, I know it's being like over harvested. And then I know the sad thing is then Indigenous people can't access it. So that's really what
Mm.
if everyone else is taking it, right, then the people whose medicine it really isn't accessible. um, I would ask where it's from, try to find an Indigenous source, and then I would really develop a relationship with that medicine. So instead of just like coming from the store, taking it, burning, lighting it up, and waving it around, just like maybe find an Indigenous person to learn about that medicine with. And then maybe sitting with it and saying, like, how do you want to be used? How can I honor you? How can I offer you gratitude? And just developing that relationship with that plant and listening, because I think that's how we make it sacred. So, and that's just one Indigenous person's viewpoint, and I'm not the smudge police because I can't be like.
I love that.
And I always say it's between you and creator and your creator, because we can't please everybody. It's just impossible. So those are some ideas.
I love that. Thank you for sharing with us because I know for one of my for me, right? Because like I am so mixed. I have all of these all of these different like spiritualities and bloodlines in me, and going out in the world, it was just so easy for me to just like sample a lot of different things in my cultures, outside of my cultures, and then kind of adopt them as my own. But one of the grateful things of growing up in Hawaii is that we were taught from a young age to ask permission, right? And to get really in touch with like, is this okay? Right. And of course, I forget sometimes to ask permission. Like all of us, we mess up. That's not like we can't live a perfect life. But yeah, to get curious like that, to pay respect and, buy your spiritual tools from sustainable people from the source. I love that.
Yeah, and it's so beautiful that asking for permission. I think it's like can be really easy, and that's where the relationship starts, right? It's like even if we're talking about spirit animals, like there are some indigenous people that will say you don't have a spirit animal unless you're indigenous. I've seen spirit animals around many of my non-indigenous clients, so for me that's not true. But how are we gonna then? You see a lion, what are you gonna do with that? Like, are you gonna honor that lion before you go to sleep? Offer it like an offering to the earth? Like, what are you gonna do with that lion? So to me, that's how you do it. It's like treating it like a human being, and that's how you're going to treat a human being. So how do you do that with your spirit beings too?
Oh my gosh, I love this so much. So I would love to know, I know you talked a little bit about your sacred membership. Can you tell us more about how people might want to work with you? How do they follow you and get in touch with you? Because you have so much beautiful medicine to share in the world.
Thank you. So my website is ashafrost.com, and there's some free offerings on there that you can do. There's an animal spirit quiz on there. That's kind of fun.
Oh, I love that one. Yes.
And there's and then my Instagram is asha.frost. So I show up there quite often. And if you want to join Sacred, the doors are opening. So they are going to be open for 5 days. So it's kind of an exclusive time to join. And that's sacredmembership.com. I would love to have you in there just to experience the beauty and the light that is there.
Yes, I'll have all of the links in the show notes for you, and we'll share this again. Oh my gosh, Asha, thank you for sharing your light and your wisdom with your sun and Jupiter conjunct in Gemini in the ninth house, just really, truly the visionary and leading with your peaceful warrior, your Libra rising. It's so beautiful. And of course, the Capricorn moon, right? Is that right? Did I get the right? I don't have your chart in front of me for one time, but you do have a Capricorn moon, right, Asha?
That's a really good memory.
Okay, I always remember the Capricorn moons because like people resist Capricorn moon and Aries moon. People resist so much, right? Like but the Capricorn moon is just like really being responsible and sustainable and truthful to yourself, right? You're like self-authority.
Yes, I love that. It speaks really deeply to how I operate in the world.
Yeah. Do you want a little mini reading that we can share?
Yeah.
Okay, so Asha, like I would start marking your calendar for like the last week of like March of 2021. I know that's like, it's not that close, but it's not that far either. The reason why is because the North Node, which is kind of like our soul's purpose, is going to be right on top of your Sun Jupiter conjunction at 13 degrees of Gemini. So right around the last week of March is going to be like this almost like this sense of like real purpose, like kind of an apex of things. Right. And then because you also have Neptune that's like sitting right across your Sun and your Jupiter, of course, like this feels like it's going to be, I feel like it's going to feel like, I know like the spiritual world, they talk about like these portals that you're like walking through. Like this is going to be like this big awakening, this big opening for you. What's coming up for you in March?
Well, my book was due March, but then it's extended to June. So that's interesting. I'm not sure what's coming up. I'm not sure. Maybe something else.
Yeah, something else. Like there's something really big that's going to be opening up for you. And so to just kind of pay attention to that. Yeah, I feel like this year is just like really that root to rise. Like I keep on seeing, like the Capricorn stellium that we're all in is just like sitting so right there in your fourth house, like just going nowhere quickly. Really. And what is happening is that it's squaring, especially Saturn right now. Saturn is squaring your Venus. And this is kind of like this whole thing. And it's coming exact on November 24th, which is just in a couple of, that's tomorrow. So what it feels like probably is just kind of like, it feels like boundaries. It feels like this shell to all of that you're able to love about yourself and love about others. It doesn't feel like this is like this super expansive place. It just kind of feels like, oh, like your love has limits. That's really like you're feeling it right now. You're feeling like there's boundaries to that worthiness, right? So come December 15th, you'll be done with that, because this aspect for you, just how the Saturn has gone back and forth, like this whole year since February has really kind of felt like this, like there's limits on my love, there's limits on my value. And that's going to grow, because I think with the limits, to me, when we look at Saturn from this place of like, okay, limits, responsibility, discipline, we can look at it in that one way. But to me, the highest elevation of Saturn is really about sustainability and like doing our best. Right. And so over this year, really kind of putting your values through this kind of intensification, like, okay, how much can I really give that will be sustainable and fill back my cup, right? How much can I put myself forward, and like, am I doing the best? Like, yeah, you are, because you're still doing it. You're consistently showing up. So to me, it's like wherever we've been putting in the hard work and the discipline within the bounds of like our personal energy is where the success will fruit.
I've been working friggin' hard.
Yes.
Stopped, but yeah.
I feel like December 21st, when Saturn and Jupiter meet in the sky, like separate from Saturn squaring your natal Venus, it's just like, it's going to feel so like opening.
I love that.
Yeah. So look towards
solstice, and I love, that's my favorite day of the year. So I love
solstice is like a huge day, because like we have like Jupiter Saturn conjunct, we have solstice, we have sun moving into Capricorn, all of these things. It's gonna be, we're building towards that right now.
So okay, so then how do I sit in this like offer that I've put out there and just like trust?
Yeah, I'm glad that you asked. I'm glad that you felt like compelled, that you trusted yourself to ask, that you broke through that kind of idea of like, oh, am I worthy enough? Because you are.
And I do feel like I've done so much work the last 2 weeks since I got the offer to like just be like, okay, I'm going to do it, right? I'm going to ask. And I think what's going on with them too, I feel like I'm like a healing, like that bridge. Like I think I'm bringing in more than just the cards. Like I think it's like bringing in that healing, you know?
The question that comes through for you is like, do you feel that you are a success?
I do.
Okay.
I do.
Because
I don't like, not fully in my fullest success, but I do feel that. I do. And like I do in even seeing what I'm offering them, like, you know, we've been in business for a long time. Like thinking about that, I've been in business for a long time, and like I've done a ton of my own healing work. I'm bringing a lot here, and for my ancestors, for like the future generations, I feel my value in that, you know?
Yes. Okay. I think that's the takeaway, is like, as a projector with, you know, this kind of open kindness and like with all of those energies in that kind of rooted area for you, it's like you have to claim and feel strong. You have to feel that you have achieved, and that you have to feel like you're anointing yourself as success. It's like, okay, I did this. This is mine. I acknowledge myself as successful. Like for whatever reason, that's going to fertilize your roots so that you can rise even more.
Okay. I love that. Thank you. I'm going to do that. That feels like really big. Like it's just like I'm taking up more space in that way, and like that feels so good.
Take up so much space, Asha. You got it.
For having me, and
thank you, Asha.
Let me know when it's coming out and how I can post.
Bye, Asha. Thank you. Mahalo for listening to this brand new podcast. If you enjoyed learning about astrology for entrepreneurs, help me spread the word by sharing this podcast with your business besties, and hop over to the Savvy Luminary for links to episode notes and our free Facebook community where you can send me questions about astrology or branding, as well as connect with other like-minded businesses.